Good morning, this is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I am so happy to be here with you in the new year. Happy New Year to all of you out there, and I hope that you had a great New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And we are going to be right back at it. We are going to be talking about how to write names on our knit or crochet wear on our projects. So I will be talking about that, and this is just my little sample that I did for this week, and we're going to be going over this as we go along. And I will also be talking about the projects that I had worked on this last week and maybe what I learned or changed or did, and just share that with you so that you can learn from what I've been working on, and maybe it'll help you in your projects. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, if you go ahead and push the like button, or when you add comments in the comment section and share with your friends, you'll be entered to win prizes. Every week we win prizes. So the last week was this cute little My Baggy bag that has the little magnets that keep your needles and things in place. And the person who won it will be announcing that shortly. And then for this week, I was thinking, you know, the Simply Crea is so lovely, and so many people have knit that Vines hat, that I am going to have this Simply Crea for our prize this week. And it is super baby alpaca. It's totally beautiful, and just enough to make that Vines hat pattern that's free on Ravelry if you're interested in doing that project. So again, all you have to do to enter to win is post your projects. You know what? We love seeing pictures of what you're working on. So if you can share pictures with us and maybe push that like button, that would be great. And if you have any questions at all as we're going along, please ask us, because I can answer them as we're going along. Let us know where you're from and what you're working on. We love learning from you. So this last week, you know, I was talking about that Copycat hat that I love so much. You see it in the ski shops everywhere, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry that has been around for a little while, and thousands of people have done that project. And so I went ahead and knit this for one of our staff members here, Renee. It's her birthday, and I thought that she might like the Copycat hat. I did change the top a little bit, and so yeah, that was my change that I did, and it was knit with a provisional cast on. She's already worn it. I mean, she has barely taken it off. So, and this is made with a yarn called O, and I have been testing it to see if we want to bring it into Alpaca Direct for one of our yarns. And it is super baby alpaca, and it has a chain neck construction, but if you look at this hat, you can't really tell that. And the reason why it looks so fuzzy is that I took this lovely yarn, it's called Kid Silk Haze, and I carried a strand of Kid Silk Haze with this O yarn, and here's what the yarn what it looks like on the skein. And so I carried these two colorways right here together to make this hat. And then another thing that I had done is I couldn't finish without giving her a set, right? You have to make the set that matches it. So I went ahead and wrote up a pattern for the Copycat Mittens. And I used, remember a couple weeks ago we talked about the thumb gusset with no holes? I will show you. See, these mittens have no right and wrong hand, and look at the thumb gusset. Fantastic. And I used that technique that I taught you. So if you want to take a look at that, it's on one of the past Facebook Lives. It's from the week before last, wasn't it, Jim?
A couple weeks ago.
Yes, it was a couple weeks ago. So if you look at the ones with no hole thumb gusset, you should be able to find it. And anyway, so I used that technique, and these little mittens are really cute. And it's funny because I gave them to Renee, and the first thing she did is stuck them right on her hands. It's like, Renee, can I have those to show them for the Facebook Live? She's like, oh, okay. It's like, I'm sorry, I will give them to you right as soon as we're done with the Facebook Live. So they are going to their home today, right after the Facebook Live, and Renee will be able to enjoy it. Yes?
Mentioned we wanted some test knitters.
Oh yes, and we are testing that right now, that pattern, and it is fairly close match to the Copycat hat. The only thing that I did differently on this pattern is I did not use twisted rib. I find that regular rib for me is nice and stretchy, and I love the regular rib, so that's what I used on mine. I just used regular 1x1 ribbing, and but other than that, the pattern is going to match the hat. So if there are any of you out there that want the pattern, please let us know. We'd be happy to give it to you so that you can give it a go and see how it works for you. I will be testing it myself again as well. But you guys just go ahead and email or text us or what have you on our Facebook Live VIP group, and we can get you set up with that pattern. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, now this little hat here, it is sopping wet. I just got it out of the bath this morning, and I'm trying to, remember I told you I'm trying to work on my stash, and this is called the Koba Cap. Well, it's by Caitlin Hunter, and it's a paid-for pattern on Ravelry, and this pattern is absolutely fantastic. However, if you will notice, it is made with fingering weight yarn. Of course, mine is bulky weight yarn, right? So if you look at the pattern on here, it's a 20 stitch repeat, meaning every 20 stitches the pattern repeats again. So I was able to cast on 60 stitches, and I did the same kind of cuff that I did for this Copycat hat. I went ahead and put it on this bulky weight hat, and that's with the provisional cast on. And if you look at the back of it, do you see how seamless it is? It's pretty darn nice. Anyway, it's super, super wet, and it hasn't had, I need to put a pom-pom on it still. But it's a bulky version of that Kobuk hat. And like I said, I cast on 60 stitches. At the top, I did have to decrease it differently because they had like 2 plain knitting rounds in between each increase round. That was not going to work for my bulky weight yarns. It would be way too huge. So I had to take out a bunch of those knit rounds in between. And so I just kind of faked it as I went along. As a matter of fact, on some of them I had to do my knit 2 together with making the bobble. But no fear, I just went ahead and made a bobble with knit 2 together instead of knitting 1. And so it worked great. I had no problem with it. You can't tell the difference. And it was fantastic. So you can get really creative and make things work for you. And I had fun doing this hat, and I plan on doing more. So now we're, yes, Jim?
Oh, lots of people saying hi. Ann says hi.
Good morning.
And Debbie,
good morning, everyone.
Donna, Susan, Judy.
Oh, that's awesome.
A lot on the East Coast, Midwest.
That's fantastic. I hope you all had a great Happy New Year, and I wish you the very best in this next year. And let me show you what I was working on. This was kind of cool. So when we think about writing names, you know Evie is my granddaughter, right? And I made this chart, and I used a software, but you can find free versions of it if you Google it as well, or you can just use graph paper. You can buy that at the store. So the important thing about what you want to do when you're doing your letters is you want to know how many stitches across it's going to be. So if you had 4 letters and you had 30 stitches, you would divide the 30 by 4. But you would also need to remember to have at least 1 space on either side of the letters. And also notice when you're doing your work, it's really good to write it out on this graph paper, because if you notice the V in Evie, it takes up a lot more space than some of the other letters. So it's good to know that as you're going along. So I would say go ahead and write it out first, and then put your stitch count on the bottom so you make sure that's accurate, and you would just follow this as a chart in your work. And I would take these charts as you make them, because you'll need different stitch counts for different thickness of yarn. If you're using very thin yarn, you may have to have twice as many stitches across to get the name on and make it look good. So you have to have different charts for different widths, thickness of yarn. And so anyways, if you keep them, you only have to do them once. So here was my chart, and it's using bulky weight yarn, so I put in 2018. Of course, now I need to do 2019, and then I put Dad, Mom, and Evie, because I'm going to be, I haven't finished the stockings for Brandon and Meg, but I will be putting Dad and Mom on them. And so I have my templates all ready. And this is half the battle. If you can get this part, you can write your names anywhere. And then I was, yes?
Oh, there was a question about what the software is.
Oh, the software that I normally use, what's it called, Jim?
Oh, Knit Visualizer.
Knit Visualizer is the one that I use. And it is fantastic. It does have a little bit of a learning curve for those of you out there, and it's a little bit on the expensive side. I would say Google it. There's a free version, and then there's the more expensive, more professional versions. But you don't necessarily need to use the more expensive software if you didn't need to. If you weren't going to be doing it all the time, I wouldn't say invest your money into that because it's overkill. But if you're going to be doing it all the time, that's great because then you can use it for all your pattern writing. So I wanted to show you on this one swatch here. This one, okay, when I was doing my stocking for Evie, I wanted to put her name on it. And I wanted to actually knit it with the different colors of yarn as I was going along and not do duplicate stitch. I just wanted to knit with it. So what I figured out, I'm sitting here going, how can I do this without having to carry yarn all the way across the back and have it be, you know, a lot of extra strands and chance for me to pull it too tight, right? So what I did is I wrote the name on the front and the back. So when I'm doing my Christmas stocking for Evie, what I can do is I have her name on the front and the back. So if Meg wants to hand the stocking and have it going to the left, that her name's on it. And if she wants to hang it going to the right, her name's on it. So it makes it like reversible. So I think it's a great way to do it. Plus, it's easier way to carry your yarns and make sure that your tension is correct on your yarns with your floats and not have huge, huge floats, okay? So that was, it was such an easy thing to do and I never even thought about it. So when you're writing names and you just want to use your chart and just knit it all at once so when it's done, that's how you can do it. You can put the name on the front and back. Or maybe you want to put Evie and then you want to say First Christmas 2019 or something like that. You can do whatever you like and then it'll work that way. Just make sure that when you're making these wonderful charts, put them in sheet protectors, the plastic sheet protectors, and put them in a binder so that you can find them and you don't have to remake them over and over. You can just use them whenever you need them and pull them out. So the next thing that I was thinking of is we have, I'm going to come around here, Jim. I'm going to come around. We're going to be talking about how you can embroider. It's kind of a bit of embroidery that we're doing, and you can put the names on your projects, and it's the same thing as you would do when you're putting your a mouth on a origami, or
origami.
I'm saying it wrong. But anyways, it's all the same thing. So if we look at this one right here, so first of all, we're looking at our stitch. This right here is the stitch that we're going to be working with, right? So you just go into that stitch and come down to the next one. So that one would go over there. I'm trying to do it while keeping this on the board so you can see it. See that? And you want to keep your tension even, but not too much. And then I'm going to go down two bars. Oop. Get off there. This is some comfort. It's the thicker weight comfort, and we're thinking about bringing it in. So I thought I'd test them for all kinds of stuff before we go ahead and bring it in.
The yarn, you mean?
Yeah, the yarns. And you can either go one stitch or two stitches. So this one right here is one stitch, but you see how that one's two? Let me go back and show you. So this one right here is going to be two, so you can see what this one looks like. See it right there? Now that's two. You can make it longer if you want to, so you don't have to do it so many times, or you can just do it right here, do it once and then go. Sometimes you might have to do it twice on one spot and once on the other so you can get it to line up, because it might be, you know, might not look right. Oops, there you go. And then you would finish this off. Let me just thread this needle. I got that came off there. And then you would finish it off by, okay, going right back in here, like that. See? So there's my line. So these are 1 stitch, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 1 stitch. So you can do it either way that you want. It's personal preference. And I already did this one like this. And if you look at these right here, this is a little tight. But you can pull it up and make it show up a little bit more. The tension, your tension, how tight you pull it does matter. You don't want to pull it too tight, otherwise it sucks it in like that. And then I'm not great at doing this. I'm just learning this myself. So, and this right here is where I did a V, and you would just go over sideways and up 1. And actually on this one I was going up 1/2 a stitch. If you see the bar right here, I was going over the bar and then going half. And then the last one I finished off with all the way through the whole thing and went through the bottom. So that's how you do it. And then right here is duplicate stitch. That's done with duplicate stitch. If you were to feel it, it feels thick. And I don't know if I love the feel of a really thick stitch, but I mean, it's another way to do it. It's another technique that many people use. So this right here is the stitch that we're talking about that we would use. So we'd bring our yarn that we're working with right around and then go right back in where we were, and then come up 1 bar and then just tighten that up. You want it tight enough so it doesn't look sloppy, but not so tight that you lose your it'll look really funny if you get if the tension's too wonky. It doesn't look that great. See, so you would just go, and then if you wanted to take this one out or go over this way, you could just take it back out and then redo it. And if I was doing these and I'm making a line that's double thick all the way up, I would do this line and then go over 2 and do, I would have done that side. Well,
Roseanne says she uses duplicate stitch many times and it looks really nice.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, so if I was going to do this one right here, and Roseanne, ask her if she has any little tricks that she can share with us that other people can use.
She can hear.
Hey, Roseanne, can you tell us, are there any tricks that make it easier that you know about?
And Sue wants to know, could you use intarsia? With a piece of yarn per section for the letter.
Yeah, you totally could. You totally could. Yep. And so see how you can just go right around here, and then you go on over here, and you just gotta, it's almost, you know how the embroidery, they have that hoop that holds your project into place? That's kind of a neat thing. I wish I had one when I was doing this to hold everything right in position, right where I want it, you know, because when they're doing embroidery, I think they have an advantage over us when they're using those hoops. But do you see how that is like that? That's pretty cool. I mean, you know, the duplicate stitch is pretty fun. You can do a lot with it, and I really like this too. So when we're talking about this little daisy, it's called the daisy stitch, and let me grab my paper here. I wrote it down. I saw this one on YouTube, and it's how to make a little flower. And one second here. It is it's a sample of how to embroider the daisy. How to make a daisy, lazy daisy stitch, shown by Wendy Gratz on YouTube, and this was it right here. And I thought this was pretty cool because you can do all different kind of flowers and things using this little technique. Of course, let's see if I have my yarn. And all you do is every time you want to make one of these loops right here, you start from the center and then you go back into the center and you make that loop. You see how there's a loop right there? Then you would go back out to the edge wherever you want your line to show up. See, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And then you would just go through here and grab your loop and pull it however tight. You don't want to pull these things too tight because it'll distort the look of it. And then you want to go either up one stitch or sideways one stitch, whatever you think looks best. You can try it, and if it doesn't work, then you can try something else, right? Because we're not, sorry, I'm getting all tangled up on my needles. Let's see. So when you're making this, see how you can pull it tight. Now, I don't know if I really like that one. This one, see how this loop of yarn is, it's a little further away than what I want. So sometimes you just have to experiment and find something that you think looks good. And sometimes it might take more than one try. But, you know, the finish work is important. And so if you're gonna do finish work, you might as well do it. I think maybe I have to go back in where, let me see if I can go back in where I was. If I go back in where it was, you won't see any yarn there, but let me see if I can go up here maybe, if that looks better. Nope, it doesn't. So we'll try and go back in right where we were. See how this doesn't look good? You want it to go straight in. And when they were showing it on embroidery, they have it on a flat piece of fabric, so you don't have to worry about where your knit stitches are or where they're landing or what have you. You can just do it on the flat fabric. But we don't have the luxury of flat fabric. We have to make it work on knitting. So, oh yeah, I like that better. So you go right in where you came out then. And then if you want to do another one, you would just come up through the center again, make yet another loop by going straight down into it, come right back up, grab your loop, and as we just found out just now, just go right back in where you were. And let's see. See how you can make there's my last loop right there. So that's totally fun to make all different kinds of flowers and things that you can do. So there's a lot you can do to help make your names and your projects personalized and have your loved ones' names on them. I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we could use this to say, made for Evie with love from Grandma or something like that, and do it in little tiny writing. So I'm going to be working on that. You know how I always say, if you want to learn a skill and get really good at it, you have to practice, practice, practice. So I will be doing more practice on that skill and learning to write names and making them turn out better and better by practicing. And then I will be using those techniques and seeing which ones work best for me and which ones I find most useful. And if I figure out some different ideas about that, I will share it with you so that you can have you can learn from what I've learned from. I can share my knowledge that I learned. So anyway, okay, so for this last week, we had this My Baggies, little My Baggie zippers. Sorry, Jim, I left my paper over there. And the winner for today is Cheryl Gus Groom. And Cheryl, congratulations. You won this prize today. And all you have to do is contact us at Alpaca Direct and give us your shipping address, and we'll send that out in the mail to you. And the prize that we're going to be voting on for this next week is this Simply Crea, so that you can make your own Vines hat if you wanted to do that, or you can make something else. And all you have to do is share with your friends and tell us what you're working on. Maybe post a picture, or don't forget to tell us what patterns you're using, because sometimes you post these fantastic pictures and we want to make the project too, and guess what? We can't if we don't know the name of the pattern. So share that with us. We also have a VIP Facebook group, and we would love to have you join us on that. So you go ahead and look over there, and you can share ideas with us. And of course, we're learning from each other every single day, so that's fantastic. So I wanted to let you know that next week we're going to be working back on the Tuesday schedule because there's no other holiday, and it'll be at 9:30 a.m. and I will be talking about cabling without a cable needle and how simple it is, and the tricks that I use to remember where to hold your yarn, etc., etc. So you can learn from me, and maybe it'll help you remember the skill of knitting without a cable needle without having to figure out looking it up and seeing where you need to hold your yarn. So I am looking forward to sharing that with you.
Cheryl's online. She said thank you.
Hi, Cheryl. Good morning.
Tell her congratulations.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I'm so happy to be here today and be able to share with you all. And I really did have fun with these names. And it helped me too, because I'm just learning to write names on my projects. And as I knit more and more, I do want my loved ones to know that I made that for them and that it was special. My heart was, I was doing that out of love for them. And so it's nice to be able to write from Grandma with love, or, write a little something on it so that years later when they pick up that project, they go, oh, I know who gave that to me, and it's written on the inside, love Grandma. And so I think that's pretty cool. So I'm excited about that, and I'll be using that more. And I am going to get better and better and practice more and more on being able to write my names on my knitwear projects. So you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Take care.